So hello, welcome. Kathy Keegan is here in the house. And I'm Elaine Williams. Last time I checked, right?
She looks like Elaine. For those of you who are listening, she looks like Elaine.
Okay, good. And it is December 31st, 2020. The last day of this shit show of a year. We made it. You made it with us. Whoa! We made it. And I just thought, you know what? What better way than to end the year with my fabulous podcast partner, Kathy Keegan. I talk about you all the time, and I'm so grateful because our conversations always lift me up, enlighten me. And that's one reason we were inspired to start this podcast, because we wanted a comedic look at life and business and to kind of pull the curtain so you could peek behind what it's like to, be a coach and to be a consultant and to be a teacher and someone who supports others. And that was part of our inspiration. And because Kathy has such a great fan club with her reptiles and her cats. There are many reasons.
You know what? Today is our first year of having Blue. So a year ago today, now I know for some people it's New Year's Eve, but you're also granted permission to call it Thursday, if that feels better for you.
We grant you that permission.
We went and picked up our beautiful blue-tongued skink, not a skank, as my father-in-law has accidentally called it on several times. We picked her up a year ago, and she was with two great families for a total of about 18 years. And we've had her for a year, and she's fabulous. So anyway, I just wanted to honor her on her gotcha day. I don't know if they do gotcha days for lizards, but why don't we start doing that?
Why not? So I love it. Congratulations. And yeah, and I'm so excited to talk to you. I feel like I haven't seen you. I just got back from Texas. It was, I tell you, it was enlightening. I'm really proud of myself. And if you're new to the podcast, or even if you've been listening for a while, like I'm in recovery, rocky childhood. I know that my parents did the best job they could. And, I'm still working through stuff like we all are. And I noticed this trip, because I was still working. So I was doing my Zoom AA Al-Anon meetings, and I was leading my accountability groups, and I taught one of my classes to my students. So I had to really kind of stay in what I like expanded leadership version of Elaine. And it really helped me not regress to being 15 or 12 or 3. I mean, I did have a moment on Christmas Day, but for the most part, for the 10 days, I really did feel like I was an expanded, evolved leader around my family, which is not normally how it goes. Like I usually start off that way and then kind of crash. So it was really interesting.
Huge, Elaine. I want to just take a moment, because that is huge. All of us regress to some age. I don't know which age it is for you, but each of us has a personal age that we regress to when we go home. We can't help it. And I love what you were able to do to keep yourself the person you are today, to recognize the fact that there's stuff in the past, but no, this is Elaine today. This is Elaine with everything that's happened all rolled into one.
Yeah. And thank you. And it was so exciting. I mean, it was more fun, I still did eat too many Christmas cookies. And my sister and I actually, oh my God, this is the cutest story ever, Kathy. And then I'll let you talk, I promise. I'm just so excited to see you. So, I joke around. My first addiction was theater. And then my second addiction was food. And then it morphed from there. And, it's easy to quit cocaine. You just stop dating your dealer. But with food, you're dancing with the devil every day. And the holidays are such they're so rich with tradition, and it's just a part of Texas pecan cake. My sister loves to make cookies, and so before before I went to Texas, I had a friend who was staying with me, and he had gotten some cookies from this amazing bakery, Jen Corelli's. It's right around the corner from my house. It's this Italian bakery, and I swear to God, we don't have stuff like this in Texas. Like, it is like when I go in there, I'm like, oh my, what is that? What is that? Like, and thank God I sort of forget about it unless somebody's visiting me. So he got a bunch of cookies, and they happened to be left by my desk. And so on the last day before I left for Texas, he was working on the other part of the studio office, and I was on this part. And I just kind of happened to like, oh, I'm going to have a Christmas cookie. Oh, I'm going to, it was like in the afternoon. So I grabbed a couple of the Christmas cookies because there was a whole box. And so later on, he was like, you ate my Christmas cookies. You ate more than your share. Like, you ate some of my Christmas cookies. And I was like, sorry, and he wasn't shaming me, but, he was just like, guy, Elaine, I don't even know who you are. Like, he was kind of joking around. And I was like, this is why I don't keep sugary stuff in my house for the most part, because I'm not always good with portion control. There's a lot of factors. I don't keep ice cream. I don't keep bread. There's just some things that are like cocaine that go, Elaine, I'm right here. Come here, come here, come here. So I just like don't bring it in my house. It's easier. Anyway, so I apologized. I said, I'll buy you some more cookies. I'm going to go work out, like whatever. So I come to Texas. I'm telling my sister, and I go, oh yeah, I ate some of Neil's Christmas cookies. And she was like, mm-hmm. And, and when she's baking cookies, I'll be like, can I have some dough? And she's like, no. And anyway, so unbeknownst to me, she made a video, and she was talking about, look, hi, Neil, it's Andrea, Elaine's sister. And she told me about the Christmas cookie incident. And I am making these beautiful cookies. Aren't they beautiful? And now I am going to hide them because I know Elaine. So she showed Neil in the video where she hides the cookies from me. And she makes this video. I have no idea this is happening. She makes this video. She sends it to Neil. He responds, oh my God, I feel your pain too. The whole Christmas cookie. She's a cookie monster. Oh my God, your cookies look beautiful. I would ask you to send some, but I know they won't make it. Like, anyway, so she shows me the video and then shows me his text. I was laughing so hard. I was crying. And I thought, you know what? That to me is an example of transformation and healing. I had an eating disorder. I grew up with body image stuff. I still struggle every once in a while. I was put on my first diet in first grade. I took laxatives and drugs. Like, you name the saga, you've heard it. But like the fact that all three of us could laugh lovingly with no shame, and like, yeah, you know what? I still love sugar. I have to manage, and that we could laugh at it. And they did it, but with love. There was no malice. There was no shaming. And we didn't even mention it to my dad or my mother because they wouldn't, like, nobody else would get it. But I just, like, I'm just so moved. I'm just so moved that these two people I'm close with could laugh with me and not at, like, it was just, to me, it was just so hilarious and beautiful. And like that was an example of this holiday for me. So, wow.
Of the life that you've built and the love that you've built. And I love that story because, of course, I come from the background of the eating disorder myself. And mine was always overeating, and it was always sugar. And for me, it was I'd finish something and then I'd say, oh God, now I have to go out and buy it and replace it because I was a secret.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I wouldn't let anyone know in public what I was doing. And so that's where all my babysitting money went, was to replace all the things that I, chowed my way through. And they turned something that could have been, as you said, shaming and ugly. They turned it into something that was loving and recognizing who you are. And it's all part of who you are. And it's all okay. It's all okay.
Thank you, Kathy. And you know what?
Great story.
I'm so glad we're talking about this because, it's December 31st from this insane year. And then we both are coaches. And I personally am like with resolutions, like I can't even, it's like, dun, dun, dun. It's like, make yourself wrong. Let's set yourself up to even more self-hatred and hate yourself even more. Like, to me, that's what resolutions, like, oh my God, I believe in intentions and setting goals and other things. But I think that word resolution is just like, but and so much of it is tiny habits and a million tiny choices, and so, yes, there isn't a person on the planet who probably doesn't want to be healthier, right? I mean, I've yet to meet somebody who's like, I'm good. I'm good. It's like a daily choices of drinking water, kale versus cocaine, whatever. Like, there's a million choices that we make every day.
Elaine, whatever your continuum is, right? If it's like the kale cocaine continuum and how, I'm not sure what that would look like, but yes, I agree.
I'm like, ooh, that could be a new diet. And this is where my brain goes. But, I really think this is a fabulous conversation to be in because I just feel like January is like self-hatred month. And I know that for me, yeah. And when I'm flogging myself, I mean, sometimes I get stuff done, but it is not pretty.
Right. And, every year Anne Lamott republishes an essay she wrote about dieting and how it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And so a lot of what we're talking about are those tiny habits that you talked about that have a powerful effect on our lives. And it's those little things, those little decisions, just they don't have to be monumental. That's why today is Thursday and it's New Year's Eve. That's why tomorrow is New Year's Day and Friday. You get to pick something along that continuum and say, you don't have to be at sort of what the expectations are or what you think the expectations are of what New Year's is. What if you're not in a good mood? What if you have a headache? You've got to address what's in front of you, and I think what's also a challenge right now is we're in this, what Sark, one of my mentors, calls the marvelous messy middle. We're in a long haul.
It is a long, messy middle.
It is a long, long, messy middle. And so the things that are successes look very different here. In this space, they look different. And so the way that you kind of reward yourself or feel good about something does look a little bit different because we're still long hauling with all the illness and the way the illness is morphing and becoming more highly contagious. So when you're in that space, it's really good to sort of take time out and give yourself a little credit. First of all, a big, huge pat on the back to everybody for this year and all the shifts and changes that we had to make. I mean, it's amazing. And we all had to do it, and so anyway, it's been the holiday, the ups and downs that go with that. I'm not a fan of holidays. They feel too high and the expectations feel too high. And so
I love that. Kathy. So many good points there. And, and I wanted to share one other of my lessons from this year, and not to like toot my own horn, but because I think people might be able to relate. Like, it can help people. Like Joe Polish says,
toot your own horn.
Toot, baby, go toot. And I don't mean the fart toot.
No, we're not talking about that. Although we can regress to that if you like. We have that capacity in us. Elaine, we contain multitudes. That includes farts and wisdom.
And yes, because we're still human, but I'm bummed. So I have this story. I was dating this guy, and there were pictures of his ex-wife holding up each of their babies, and she was just looking at these babies so adoringly. And I remember it hit such a nerve for me. And I I went to yoga that week and I kept crying. And I was like, what is coming up for me? And I had this experience. Something said, you don't have any pictures of your mother holding you like that. You don't have any pictures. And I honestly didn't think I did. So I made up this story. And this is not from like when I was in 20 years old. This is like, a few years ago. So I made up the story that I didn't have any pictures of my parents adoring me and blah, 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 blah. Right. And so it really seemed real, and so I'm always working on forgiveness and cleaning my slate. But that story had become very real for me in the past few years. And so anyway, so I go to Texas and my sister's like, please, can you help me go through these slides? And we made it like, all right, every night we're going to go do this. And we went through about 1,000 slides and we had to like pull them out of those old Kodak carousels and it was hilarious. And it was also really sobering. And I saw my grandparents and my great grandparents in the farm. And like my dad grew up in a 4-room house with no AC. My mom grew up on a farm. Like, I really saw like hardworking Texas families, women who never dyed their hair. I was like, oh my, but I mean, and there were some hilarious moments. And my sister, you think I'm sassy and like big mouth. My sister, there's like a whole montage of her like of her with her mouth wide open. We're like, oh my God, you were sassy. But I saw picture after picture after picture of me being adored, me being cherished as a baby, me, like my dad took a million baby pictures of me, like a million. And, I can be self-absorbed. I'm a recovering actress, all that stuff. But I was like, okay, we don't need any more. We have enough pictures of me as an infant. But like, what I was left with was that story was so not true. And I can have compassion for all of us because they adored me and cherished me in the only way, in the best way they knew how. And just because it didn't look how I thought it was supposed to look, because let's face it, I'm needy. I can be needy, you know?
Well, we have needs,
Well,
Again, that's a continuum, right? That's a continuum. There's the super, super needy, and there's just giving me a little bit of a just, like a hello, how are you type thing. And so, yeah. But what happens is when you don't know how to ask for what you need and people don't know how to give it and don't understand it, that brings you to the far end of the spectrum, which is the neediness.
right. And so I had this profound realization that I share with my sister was, oh my God, I was adored and cherished. And so that was worth all that effort of going through all those slides to really realize my story was bullshit and to let that sink in. And then in the midst of that, I had a little bit of a meltdown Christmas Day because I didn't get what I thought I wanted from, so it's interesting. It's like the spectrum. But I just wanted to share that with people as we're going into this new year or Friday. I love that. It's a new year or Friday. There's stories we tell ourselves, and are they true? Are they really true? I mean, could they be true like in the moment, but are you willing to let it go if it doesn't serve you? And would you rather be right or happy? And, I just really, that's why I love coaching, is because so much of the suffering happens needlessly up here. And so much of it is these stories that we inherit. Okay. I'm tapping on my forehead. And when I was doing the EFT training, they're like, you don't have to do it that hard. Because I was like, my teacher was like, you don't have to beat yourself, Elaine. It's light tapping. And I was like, I was like making intentions because that's my personality. But anyway, I just wanted to share that. And that's another reason. Okay, that's why I love Kathy Keegan. And my hope is that everybody gets a Kathy Keegan in their life. Somebody that you can call up and be like, I am having the worst day. And like, I paid way too much money for a haircut I look like a mushroom. And she can get you to laugh. And then she'll tell you all about her bad haircut stories. Like, we all need somebody like that in our lives that can laugh with you through like the awkward stuff, the funky stuff, all that stuff.
Oh, Elaine, that first of all, you have come back from Texas a wise, wise woman with wonderful, beautiful stories of growth. And what you're saying too, first of all, I just love you and adore you. It really is a love fest. Elaine brings me energy that I don't have. And it makes a huge difference in my life. She really does. I mean, she's got energy for many. And a lot of times I'm kind of like that Michigan J frog, the frog that sings like, hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. Hello, my ragtime gal. And then the minute the frog is in front of other people, he's like, burr, burr. And so Elaine really sort of brings out the best of who I am. And I just love what you're talking about, these beautiful awarenesses and this growth that can happen at the same time we're in another kind of dimension of illness, earthquakes, volcanoes, all kinds of big things. We are near information about things that are so far out of our world and so far out of our ability to do anything about it. And that can really create such a sense of helplessness. Yet we can make a difference right here, right now. And that's what you did when you were there, Elaine. And even though you had that moment, and I did too, because I called you a few days before you were there, because I hated everything I saw. I was in this mood where this little voice in my head kept saying, do not engage with other humans. Do not engage, because I was driving the car. We were running some errands and we were doing this on Christmas Eve. And I was just like, one voice was like, your mother was always prepared, like way before Christmas. Usually by Thanksgiving, you were already set with stuff. And here you are out and you're driving around and there are all these cars, and it's sort of like when I say that out loud, in my head, it feels like the most serious thing in the world. And then as I'm saying it, I'm like, I can't believe I just said that out loud. But that's how I felt. And I felt raw and angry at the dumbest things. And so I had to call Elaine to talk me off my ledge. And she again helped restore me back to sanity. And the thing is, I realized I have this expectation. And so it's important to understand this. Just because we're in recovery, we do the things to support our recovery, we meditate, we go to meetings, whatever it is that we're doing to support that, does not mean you're not going to have a moment where you just sort of feel like in that moment, like, did I learn anything in my life? Because that's how you feel. You feel like, holy mackerel, what just happened? Did I lose everything? That's the ego talking. And my ego, and so to just kind of slow down again and say, it's a moment and it'll pass. This is my kitty's tail for anyone who's watching.
I was like, oh my God, there's a tail coming from behind her. Is there something you haven't told me, Kathy?
No.
Are you from the fifth dimension and you're just now like, no, but I love that point.
I know people from the fifth dimension.
Okay, good.
No, my cat is trying to eat anything that's a wire. She's attracted to. So as I'm trying to talk, she's batting things.
Oh my God. She's our biggest fan club member. So we have to be nice. And that, I think that's another great point. And that's another reason we wanted to start the podcast, because, I think what happens is like life happens and we have our reaction, like, Christmas, the night of Christmas Day, I was in a pretty dark place, and I think I was 3, maybe 4, emotional, and I was really in my whole thing with my parents, and my sister's the perfect child and can do no wrong, and she is amazing, and I'm like the bad sister. I'm like the black sheep. I'm like and then what made it even worse was then I chime in on top of me being 3 and in this pain of like, you're in your 50s. Get over this. My God, Elaine, you've with your 20 years of transformational work and therapy, my God, come snap out of it. And so like I'm showing myself no compassion, and I'm shooting on myself. So there's extra judgment, extra pressure, no compassion. So it's like I have like the pain, and then I'm the one who's making it 20 times worse. I'm hitting my hand in case you're just listening. So so I just want to share that because I know that people do that with diets. I know that people do that. I know that people do that with working out. I know that people, so this is this January, I'm going to keep talking about this, the month of self-hatred. What if we made it into the month of curious? Like, what if you could be curious rather than judgmental? No, it's okay. I think it's funny. This is a high action podcast. What if you could be curious? What if you could be curious of like, wow, if I drink one more glass of water in the afternoon and I wait for 5 minutes, then I really don't need that extra cup of coffee, or, I'm just like, whatever. Or like, if I really get up and do 20 minutes of cardio, it gives me energy and I want to do more. What if you could be curious about yourselves instead of with the sledgehammer, right?
Right. And, and to change the equation from what you should not be doing to what you can be doing, that we are our harshest critics. There is no doubt. And there is nothing about a New Year's resolution that's positive. It just isn't. It doesn't, they don't work.
It's coming from a place of make wrong and should and smallness. I feel like squeeze versus, and I did read Joe Polish. I read his whole book and I highlighted it and took notes from it. And then I gave it to my nephew. So that was another sweet moment with him. But
what's his book called?
Well, if you can go right now, you can go, it's just joesfreebook.com. And all you have to do is pay for shipping. And I highly recommend it. I don't get any, I get brownie points in heaven. No, I don't, I don't get a kickback or whatever, but it's some very simple, profound things, but about, dealing with yourself, being an entrepreneur, mindset, health, well-being. It's really simple and it's an easy, fun read. And, he talks a lot about, mindset and being curious, and how so much of our suffering as human beings is from lack of connection. And I know for me, that's one reason I had social anxiety. I desperately wanted to connect with people, but I was terrified to connect. And I had good reason to at the time, when I was younger. And anyway, his book is great.
I still have that, because I'm afraid that I'm going to open up a can of worms, or that I'm going to get sort of committed to something that I can't say no to. So a lot of times what holds me back is, since I have trouble saying no, I just avoid it. So I don't even have to say no. So that's one area where I'm just paying more attention to that. And but it can be very, very challenging, because
yeah, I know a lot of people do that. Like, I'm just going to avoid this because I don't trust myself.
Right. And I don't know if I'd be able to speak up for myself.
Right. No, and I used to be there all the time. So I want to ask you, what is your resolution? I'm kidding. What what is your do you have like I picked 3 words and a phrase that are pulling me through at least the beginning of 2021, or at least for Friday. But I would love to hear if you've thought about what you're creating this upcoming.
Well, the word that came to mind the other day for me was focus. And the reason I say focus is because I just love all kinds of shiny objects. Ooh, look at that. Let me try that. And because I have insatiable,
I'm like, what? What do you mean? What? Just kidding.
and because I am insatiably curious, I can really go down
The rabbit hole.
that kind of lead to nowhere. And so there is a nice balance somewhere, which I haven't found yet. But I think that focus, and when I say focus, I don't mean sort of like this like diehard focus to the
Like,
right. It's just to remember. It's sort of like simply resume.
oh my God, I love that. I'm right. That's a writer downer.
Yeah, so that's for me, and I actually use my birthday as a time to assess and just kind of look at where I am in my life.
When's your birthday?
It's in October. So so I would use that time. And yours is in March? It's in She's just bobbing her head.
Yes. Yes, it is March 13th.
Oh, what a good day. But I use that time. That's when because it's more personal to me. What matters in my life. There is something beautiful about the collective. I mean, one of my favorite things to do when I'm working out on a treadmill is I love to listen to live albums, because you have I say albums, even though that's not what they are anymore. So once again, we might have to have a special note on here for what an album was. Um, but what I love is the energy of the crowd, how excited they are to see that person come on stage. And what that does is, I don't have a lot of energy. It gives me tons of energy. So it allows me to be able to do something that, exercise for me was torture. It was, you're fat, you need to lose weight, and this is how you're going to remedy that. But when I'm listening to this live music, and then the star walks out on stage and the music is playing, it it really gets me up and running.
Oh my gosh. That is Kathy. I love that. Simply resume. Can I adopt that too?
Absolutely. I don't own that.
Okay. And then I love the idea because, I am an extrovert. I'm half and half. So this has been hard in many ways. So many good lessons, going deeper, connecting deeper, learning how to work on a whole new level, like many, many good things. If I never go to a grocery store again, I would be good. Like there's certain things I'm like, oh, I might keep ordering even after the vaccine. But I've always loved listening to live stuff too. And I'm like, that is sounds like a really safe choice while we're in this home stretch of COVID, because even though, we have the vaccine and I'm so amazed at how quickly they're rolling it out, but like, I'm not counting, I don't know when I'll be getting it because I'm lower risk than many.
I do. In Illinois, I'm after about 10.1 million people, I'm on the list to get my vaccine.
Okay. I'm gonna do some research on that. So I knew you would know. And everyone, just so you know, if you're ever listening to these podcasts and you want to know about the weather, you should contact Kathy Keegan, because she is really up to date. She keeps it very. She is my weather lady. So you could call or text her at any time, and she will consult with you about.
Oh, Elaine, I mean, what a great way to spend a Thursday afternoon of the last day of 2020.
Oh my God. Okay, can I tell you one more quick story?
Please.
Is that okay? So, you know, a person very close to me calls me helter skelter girl because sometimes I will be like, like you, like running lots of directions. And this summer I traveled. I was very tired and I left my laptop on a plane and I was finally able to retrieve it, but it was 2 weeks of kind of hell. Really tainted the trip in some ways. I mean, I still had a great trip, but it was hard and I was so mad at myself, blah, 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 right? So anyway, I've been really intentional. Anytime now I get off the plane, I really try to. So anyway, so I flew in yesterday. Our flight was delayed, taking off, blah, 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 blah. So I get off 8D. I'm in 8D and I'm looking because I've got to find my passwords because we got to reset my Uber because I got to get an Uber. I felt better than an Uber than a cab. Blah, 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 blah. I cannot find my passwords. And that's all my passwords. I have electronic version, but I have paper version. And I'm in 2 masks and protective gear and I'm schwitzing. So now I'm like panicking. I can't breathe. And I'm like trying to walk fast, carrying a suitcase full of books and stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, I cannot go through this again, And so I see this cute little flight attendant and I'm like, Bernardo. And he seems shocked that I remembered his name. And I was like, can you please help me? Please. I just left something on the plane and it's midnight. These people are tired, right? And so we're talking. He walks me back all the way back to the gate. He stays with me. This lady comes, she has to call somebody. This other lady comes, she has to call somebody. And I'm like, thank you so much. I know it's late. I'm really sorry. I thank you so much. I'm so sorry to do this for you. I know it's on the plane. Da, 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 da. They thought I said passport, but it was passwords. But anyway, so the lady walks off and she's like, I didn't find a passport, but I found these. And I was like on my knees, like, thank you. Anyway, I made a friend. Bernardo wants to study comedy. And I was like, dude, I will give you a free coaching thing for you don't understand. So I wanted to celebrate that because even though I still made the mistake of leaving something, I was more alert and more proactive this time because I knew if I don't throw a fit now, it's going to be a shit storm for the next, So I was really, really, really proud of that. And then the other thing I just want to share with you, because you inspired me for this, I'm doing a song parody tonight. So I'm performing for a Zoom comedy show, and I'm doing a parody of These Are My Favorite Things with AA slogans and recovery stuff. And part of that is inspired by you, Kathy. So I have to I have to rehearse today, but I'm really excited about ending the year with that.
Oh, I hope your gig goes fabulously. That's going to be so much fun.
Well, thank you. And I'm just want to thank you. Releasing this podcast and working on it has been such a joy and such a learning experience. And I can't wait to see how it unfolds as we continue in 2021. And for all our fabulous listeners, whether you've just discovered us or you've been listening, we're so grateful. Please subscribe. Please hit notify. Hit the button, the bell. Please share and review because that helps us because we have a pretty cool, unique takes on coaching and comedy and life. And Kathy and I have done a ton of transformational work and we love sharing it. So if there's something you want us to talk about, reach out, comment below. You can find Kathy. Oh, Kathy, how do they find you?
Oh, at kathykeegan.com.
And that's with a K and a K. Kathy Keegan. And you can find me at Elaine at captivatethecrowd.com. And that's with 2 C's. So that's how you can tell us apart. So I love it. Simply resume. Woo! Drop the mic. Thank you. This was so much fun, Kathy.
And hey, Elaine, you know what? I'll see you next year.
But I'm bummed.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.